Hey everybody, Brandon here with IDUP Hockey, joined by Nick, CCM's product manager for Protective here in Montreal to walk through the FT8 Pro elbow pad line. Nick, before we get started into the awesome FT8 Pro elbow pad, how would you describe the fit profile on the arm and then the style of player it's designed for?
So when we're talking about our JetSpeed elbow pads, one thing we really want to make sure is we're keeping a low profile and tapered fit. What that means is we want to make sure that the elbow pad sits as close as the body as possible to really make sure you have a nice sleek look and also covered on that end. When we talk about the type of player we want to use, we think about when we're talking about our JetSpeed line is definitely that quick, agile player. Comes to mind as like a puck moving defenseman, a quick, agile forward that's not afraid to actually pick up that top speed. And in terms of athlete, definitely comes into mind is Connor McDavid with that really fast reaction, that quick 1-2 first step. Honestly, great person compared to that line too.
A fantastic person compared to. That's awesome. So let's get into the FT8 Pro. We have an incredible story behind it. The first time I picked it up, it was super lightweight. How did you achieve that this year moving forward?
So one of the ways that we really treat the lightness in our JetSpeed product is working with exposed foams. So how low and how close to the body can we get the elbow pad, and that's basically been the guiding light inside of our line. So when we talk about the FT8 Pro versus prior lines is we're definitely making it sit less high. So really low profile, especially in the forearm area, and making sure that we have great connection between the glove and the elbow pad. Since they work together a lot, especially when you're releasing shots, you're creating a lot of flexion along the arm. And in terms of package, when you look at this elbow pad, it's one of the pieces that players have a less tendency to change. One of the reasons that when you're wearing your elbow pad for so long, you get used to a fit, you get used to the size. So our ideas here is how can we get those players to change and really upgrade their protection when it's definitely needed in those contact sports. That has been the guiding light inside of our Protective line.
So for the player who fell in love with the FT6 Pro, they're getting an even better fit with the FT8 Pro?
Absolutely. So compared to the FT6 Pro, what we wanted to work on is definitely the overall size of the elbow pad. So it's going to be a little bit shorter, I'd say about ½ an inch. It'll sit a lot lower on your forearm. So we moved away from that plastic piece along the forearm and we went with our reinforced exposed foam along the arm. And we also worked about the flexibility. So first things first is that it offers a lot of flexibility along the elbow pad. And you're going to tell me, Nick, an forearm doesn't flex. 100% right. But the interaction between the glove and the elbow pad, we just need to allow for that slight little movement to avoid that kind of connection between those pieces and really creating pain for the player.
So you don't really notice your elbow pad moving when you're taking that big shot and you're not adjusting.
It just feels right.
Right on. Now, in terms of protection, the quick and agile player still is going to go through stick traffic, battles along the board. So you have elite level protection in this as well too.
So all along the cap, we still have our very protective cap along here. We have our exposed forearm for those shock impacts and the slash guards. And we also have our plastic bicep to really reinforce that protection side on that aspect and avoid those shots or those slashes that can come up a bit higher.
Right on. Now a huge story as well is aer-tec thermoregulation.
Yeah.
How does that benefit the player, and how is aer-tec thermoregulation designed into the elbow pad?
So when we look at our elbow pad, again, the key aspect is how do you bring air inside of the elbow pad? So when we look at our front of our elbow pad, we have nice little air vents along the forearm, and we have air vents along the bicep to really bring in that airflow. When we look inside the elbow pad, what you'll notice is that, like our other JetSpeed products, is we'll have our suspension system to really allow that air to move around the gear. And when we look at what that looks like inside of the product is you'll have that nice blue suspension system all across the forearm, creates a gap between your arm and the protection aspect to really allow that air to go through all along the elbow pad, and also those air vents to have that air exit out. And the last thing I'll kind of mention on the elbow pad, because honestly, you know me now these days, I'm really passionate about straps, is when we look at our new strap for our FT8 Pro, it really has a lot more give inside, reinforced and soft on the interior to avoid that redness along the middle of the arm, and gets a much better wrap since of the dual pull aspect on the strap itself to really get that maximum kind of strapping system and that maximum attachment to really conform that elbow pad along your arm.
Right on. Now, in terms of the internal liner too, a special design there with Polygiene and Odor Crunch. How does that benefit the player?
So Odor Crunch is the way we treat it inside our protective line is to really avoid that buildup of microbes inside of the protective gear, and also to work on the smell. Gear often stays inside of the bag. If you're like me, you finish your beer league, you leave everything in your car, rough the next day. So Polygiene really just allows that gear to really avoid building up that microbes inside of the gear, and just overall give it a much better freshness and keep your gear.
Well, the great news is with the aer-tec thermal regulation system, it's going to take much less time to dry as well.
Exactly. It's definitely for those players that'll be playing 4 or 5 times or a tournament on the weekend. Keep it nice and dry for post game and ready for the next one.
Now we have the FT8 as well. This is just sitting below the FT8 Pro, but designed for that elite level player as well.
Absolutely.
So could you walk us through the key technologies throughout this one?
For sure. So when we look at our FT8, what's really important to highlight is we really made sure to trickle down the build from the top price point all the way to the lower price point. So again, if you look at the profile, extremely light and compact elbow pad, really built off the DNA of that crazy light elbow pad from back in the days, really keeps it nice and self-conforming all along the arm. So we'll still have that exposed foam on the forearm guard. We just have a perforated foam for that ventilation aspect on the forearm. What we'll have on the interior is we'll have our suspension mesh all along the bottom to really allow that airflow to creep inside. So you'll notice that bright blue suspension system all along the arm. And you'll have that nice and comfortable sublimated liner on the interior to really avoid that sweat buildup. And you'll be more of on a traditional kind of a bicep, really a bit different than our exposed foam all the way at the top price point.
More traditional, but still getting that incredible fit that you're getting in the FT8 Pro.
Absolutely. And you'll get our classic traditional strapping system. It offers a great wrap around the arm and really, again, self-conforms the elbow pad all along the arm.
And then we have the FT880, maybe for the player jumping up from recreational to more competitive hockey. This is a great choice for them. So could you walk us through the FT880? So
FT880, we wanted to make sure that, again, it trickles down all the way to the bottom. So for that player that's playing a little bit more competitive or just stepping on the ice for the first time, we didn't want to overbuild the product and make it nice, big, and bulky all along the arm. So we made sure, again, to keep that forearm nice and low profile. We still have our great strapping system to get that nice wrap. We have our breathable strapping system all along the middle of the arm to get a nice tight pull around. And again, if you look at the interior of the elbow pad, you'll notice we have our bright blue, again, sublimated liner, and a great spot for that elbow to rest all the way on the interior to maximize that protection on that end.
Right on. Nick, I just want to say thanks once again for walking us through the FT8 Pro elbow pad line. Now, for the female player looking for a fit that's right for them, you have something to offer as well, don't you?
Absolutely. We have our FTW line. So our FTW line is really built for that women's profile, making sure that, again, working with all our different universities, our different partners, really building a product that's designed for women. Different body shape, different types of profiles. We really want to make sure to create a nice tight wrap around the arm and make sure they're nice and comfortable.
Awesome. Nick, thanks once again for having us out.
Absolutely.
And we're looking through this line. You guys knocked it out of the park this year.
Thank you.
And then for you at home, if you're looking to get your hands and to check out the FT8 Pro elbow pad line, as well as the FTW women's elbow pad, you can head over to icewarehouse.com.